Let's talk about the sex you're not having. Hi, I'm Dr. Cheryl Fraser, clinical psychologist, sex therapist, creator of the 3-month program, Become Passionate, an online program for couples. And I want to reassure you that the majority of longer-term couples who've been together more than a few years, 2, 3, 4 years, do have some struggles in the area of sensual desire and their sexual life. In fact, it will probably surprise you because I teach this all over the place, and it tends to really surprise people because we're not talking about the sex we're not having with our partner or with our peer group. That 30 to sometimes 40% of longer term couples, that means you've been in a relationship more than a few years, are making love rarely or not at all. One of the clinical definitions of a sexless relationship is you make love 6 or fewer times a year. Cool, you do the math. So if you make love maybe every 2 months or so, you're in a low sex relationship. Now, first of all, let me say you are normal. There's nothing to be ashamed of being in 30 to 40% of the world. Instead, we should get curious and say, why does this precious third part of our romantic passion triangle, more about that in a minute, why is that the one we tend to neglect the most? Are we arguing about it? Did we argue about it? Are we now not talking about the fact that our sexual life is not happening very often or not at all? There's a few reasons I'm going to unpack in this video, and if you'd like more, make sure you join me for one of my free workshops this month only. Once a year, I offer my 3-month Become Passion program, and that might be of interest to some of you. And as a lead up to that, I offer my free masterclasses and workshops. So you can click below and join me just over the next week or two for one of those free workshops. We'll go much more deeply into what I'm bringing you right now. So today's video is the third of 3 on the passion triangle. Make sure you watch the first couple if you haven't seen them already, because there's 3 key areas we need to establish, develop, work on, create, make a hobby, spend time on if we want a great relationship. The first is intimacy, communication, conflict resolution. That was video 1. Video 2 was thrill, romance, happiness, treating each other better, you know, like we did when we were dating. And the third is sensuality. That's what we're talking about today. So I've established, and I hope it's reassuring, maybe discouraging too, but reassuring that low or no sex relationships are fairly common. What can you do about that? To the rest of you that are making love, what's the quality? I'm going to ask you right now. Do you make love in the way I call nipple, nipple, crotch, good night? What I mean is you've got your routine. I touch you here, you touch me there, it's pleasant. Hopefully we both move towards orgasm or sensual pleasure. It's good. It's quick. Do you know the average sensual encounter lasts 7 minutes? And that's from, hey honey, you want to do it, to falling asleep. Now there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a great fan of the quickie, but it just points out how lazy we can become in our sensual world, even if we are making love, how difficult this is to talk about, and how important it is to pay attention to it. You need to build those first 2 sides first, and then we can start having conversations about the sex you're not having. I want to briefly let you know that it is completely normal, unfortunate, and most of us sure don't love it, that your sensual desire and attraction fades over time. That's biochemical, it's physiological, it's life, it's being tired, it's parenthood, it's the lack of newness, it's the lack of novelty. I'll go way more into that in the free workshops, so I hope you'll join one and I can give you more info on that. But that type of desire that we used to have so easily, spontaneous desire, oh, I'm turned on, I want to be with you, honey, this is extraordinary, it can become very elusive as we age. So we need to develop other types of desire. Come to the workshop, I'll explain that more deeply. So off the top, I said, how can we talk about the sex we're not having? Well, first, we need to talk about the other difficult things. You know, that we feel resentment about the proportion of housework we each do, that we're worried about money, that we really differ on how to work with our child that's struggling with math. We need to help you build those first 2 sides of your passion triangle before we can skillfully and effectively move into the sensuality side. So I hope you'll come to the workshop, learn way more about the passion triangle. But for now, one of the very best bits of advice I can give you as an action step, many of you aren't ready for this now. If you're sexless and maybe wanting to work toward being sensual, that's something we do over the 3-month program and beyond. It's not a quick fix, but it's a wonderful goal to put in your heart as a possibility. For those of you that are making love, but it's lackadaisical, kind of lazy, not as frequent as you might like, what used to be quite a joy in your emotional, spiritual, and physical connection is now kind of, mediocre. I want you to start scheduling sex. I know, I hear a lot, well, that's not romantic, Cheryl. And I say, you know what's not romantic? never having sex. I want you to start scheduling a sensual date. You can do this if you haven't made love in decades, like several of the couples I've worked with in the program. Your sensual date might be you turn off the lights, you put a candle in the bedroom, and you have a shower together. You soap each other, you snuggle. Wherever you are is where we start. Come to the free workshop, I'll tell you more. Bring your questions, bring your sweetheart. We're going to send you a little workbook to answer a few questions so you can really get the most out of this workshop. It's not just to sit and listen and flick through Facebook at the same time. This is really meant to bring you some actionable tools that you'll take away, whether or not you decide the 3-month challenge is for you. To join me for those 3 months, you'll hear about that in the free workshop. And again, Olympic rings. I like to help us move towards being excellent. Let's be gold medalists as couples. Let's be a couple that is happier, more connected, more forgiving, more at ease with our differences, has more fun, surprises each other, creates more romance, and very much improves our sensual and erotic life. It's a small part of what it is to be a chosen romantic couple, but it's a beautiful aspect of being alive, and I really like to help people bring that part of the passion triangle alive as well. So just to conclude, if you're not familiar with me, Dr. Cheryl Fraser, off the top I gave a few of my credentials, I think, maybe I didn't. I'm a sex therapist, I'm a clinical psychologist, certified Gottman therapist, I'm also an author, podcast host, speaker for people like Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield, but the great passion of my life, in addition to my sweetheart, as human as he can be, and as much as we drive each other crazy some of the time, love that man like crazy. We have our own issues, we work on our own passion triangle. But in addition to the love of my dear man and our fur family, it is this work, it's helping couples like you move from where you are to where you want to be, that lights me up, that brings tears to my eyes. So thank you for watching and listening. I hope you've got something helpful from this, and I really look forward to hopefully seeing you on one of the free workshops coming up very soon. Click below to register. Bye for now.